The massive Zephyrian warship floated in the darkness between stars like a metal predator waiting to strike. Admiral Krixvel stood on the bridge of the Void Render, his 6 arms crossed behind his back as he watched the tactical display. 300 ships surrounded him in perfect formation. Each vessel carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Together, they represented the largest battle fleet the Zephyrian Empire had ever assembled. Commander Zeth-9 approached from the communications station, his scaled face showing confusion. In his clawed hands, he carried a datapad that glowed with soft blue light. "Admiral, we have intercepted a human transmission," Zeth-9 said, his voice carrying the clicking sounds that all Zephyrians made when speaking. "It appears to be from their homeworld." Krixvel turned his large head toward his second-in-command. The Admiral's yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the datapad. For over 2,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had expanded across the galaxy. They had conquered 47 different species. Some had fought back with thousands of ships. Others had surrendered without firing a single shot. All had eventually fallen to the superior might of the Zephyrian war machine. "What does it say?" Krixvel asked, taking the datapad from Zeth-9's hands. "It is a simple message, Admiral. It reads U.S. Liberty departing Earth orbit. Estimated arrival at Kepler 442 in 72 standard hours." Krixvel stared at the message for several long moments. Around the bridge, other officers stopped their work to listen. The silence stretched like a taut wire ready to snap. "One ship?" Krixvel finally asked, his voice rising with disbelief. "They are sending one ship against our entire fleet?" Zeth-9 nodded, his own confusion evident. "Yes, Admiral. Our intelligence reports indicate that the UES Liberty is a mid-sized cruiser. It carries a crew of approximately 400 humans. Standard armament for their technology level." The Admiral's laugh was a harsh barking sound that echoed through the bridge. Several junior officers joined in, though their laughter carried an edge of nervousness. In all their years of conquest, they had never encountered such apparent foolishness. "Perhaps they wish to surrender," suggested Lieutenant Vrex II from the weapons station. "Many species send a single ship to negotiate terms when they realize they cannot win." Krixvel considered this possibility. It made sense. 3 months ago, his advanced scouts had discovered the human colonies in the Altarian system. The humans there had been peaceful traders, living alongside the native Altarians in harmony. The Zephyrians had destroyed both species without warning, as was their custom. Word of the attack had surely reached the human homeworld by now. "Run the message through analysis," Krixvel ordered. "I want to know if there are any hidden meanings or codes embedded in the transmission." As the communications team worked, Krixvel walked to the large viewing screen that dominated the front of the bridge. Before him stretched the Kepler 442 system, a modest collection of planets orbiting a yellow star. The third planet was rich in rare minerals that the Zephyrian Empire needed for their continued expansion. It would make an excellent addition to their territory. "Analysis complete, Admiral," called Communications Officer Nex 7. "The message contains no hidden codes or secondary meanings. It appears to be a standard navigation report." Krixvel frowned. In his experience, species facing extinction usually tried every possible trick to gain an advantage. Hidden messages, false surrender offers, desperate attempts to contact other civilizations for help. But the humans had done none of these things. They had simply announced that they were sending one ship. "Tell me about this Liberty," Krixvel said to Zeth-9. His second-in-command activated his personal datapad and began to read. "According to our intelligence, the UES Liberty is a Ranger-class cruiser. Length 600 meters. Crew complement 400. It carries standard human weapons, projectile cannons, energy beams, and defensive shields. The ship is commanded by a human named Jake Morrison." "Jake Morrison." Krixvel repeated the strange human name slowly. "What do we know about this individual?" "Very little, Admiral. Our intelligence on individual humans is limited. We know he has served in their space fleet for 15 years. He has commanded the Liberty for 3 years without any significant incidents." Krixvel returned to his command chair, a massive seat designed to accommodate his large frame. He activated the holographic display that showed the positions of all his ships. 300 vessels arranged in perfect attack formation. Each ship was larger and more powerful than the approaching human cruiser. "Admiral," Zeth-9 said carefully, "perhaps we should consider the possibility that this is some kind of trap." The suggestion made Krixvel pause. He had conquered many worlds, but he had survived by never underestimating his enemies. Even the weakest species sometimes had surprises hidden up their sleeves. Explain your thinking, Commander. The humans have had 3 months to prepare since we destroyed their colonies. They must know that we are coming. They must know the size of our fleet. Yet they send only one ship. Either they are incredibly foolish or they know something we do not. Crixvel considered this. The Zephyrians had encountered trap strategies before. Sometimes a weak species would sacrifice a single ship to learn about Zephyrian tactics. Other times they would use a lone vessel to deliver a devastating weapon, hoping to cripple the invasion fleet. Order deep scans of the approaching human ship, Crixvel commanded. I want to know everything about it. Engine signatures, weapon configurations, any unusual energy readings. Yes, Admiral. As his crew worked, Crixvel found himself thinking about the humans. They were a young species, having achieved spaceflight only a few hundred years ago. Their technology was adequate but not exceptional. Their ships were functional but not particularly advanced. In every measurable way, they were typical of the dozens of species the Zephyrians had conquered. So why did this feel different? Scan results incoming, Admiral, announced Science Officer Kex-5. The human ship appears normal in all respects. No unusual energy signatures, no hidden weapons, standard shield generators and propulsion systems. How long until it arrives in the system? Crixvel asked. 68 hours and 37 minutes, Admiral. Crixvel drummed his claws against the armrest of his chair. Something about this situation bothered him, but he could not identify what it was. In his long career, he had learned to trust his instincts. Those instincts had kept him alive through dozens of battles and had made him the youngest admiral in Zephyrian history. Commander Zeth-9, I want you to research everything our intelligence services have gathered about human military doctrine. How do they fight? What are their tactics? How do they respond to overwhelming force? Right away, Admiral. As his second-in-command left the bridge, Crixvel stared at the tactical display. One small dot represented the approaching human ship. Around it, 300 larger dots showed the positions of his own fleet. The mathematics were simple. The outcome should be certain, but deep in his mind, a small voice whispered a warning he could not quite hear. Something was wrong with this picture. Something was missing from his understanding of the situation. The human ship continued its approach, steady and unwavering. Whatever Captain Jake Morrison and his crew of 400 planned to accomplish, they showed no signs of fear or hesitation. They flew toward certain death with the calm confidence of predators approaching prey. But which side were the predators and which side was the prey? In 68 hours, Admiral Crixvel would have his answer. The UES Liberty dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, with a flash of white light. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the tactical display as dozens of red dots appeared on the screen. Each dot represented a Zephyrian warship, and there were far more than their intelligence had predicted. How many ships are we looking at, Carl? Morrison asked his science officer. Carl Davis bent over his instruments, his fingers dancing across the control panel. I count 300 vessels, Captain. They're arranged in a standard battle formation around the third planet. Morrison nodded calmly. He was a tall man with graying hair at his temples and steady blue eyes that had seen 20 years of service in Earth's space fleet. He had fought pirates in the outer colonies and had commanded rescue missions in dangerous space, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Lisa, set course for the main fleet. Full speed. Are you sure about this, Captain? Asked Lisa Chen from the pilot's seat. She was young, barely 30, with quick reflexes and a sharp mind. Her hands hovered over the controls, ready to execute any order, but her voice carried a note of concern. I'm sure, Morrison replied. Ben, what's our status? Chief Engineer Ben Rodriguez looked up from his station. He was a stocky man with powerful hands and an easy smile that could calm worried crew members during the worst situations. All systems are green, Captain. Engines running at full power. Weapons are charged and ready. Amy, how are our defensive systems? Weapons specialist Amy Johnson checked her displays. She was a precise woman who treated every weapon system like a delicate instrument. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her green eyes focused on the readouts with laser-like intensity. Shields at maximum power, Captain. All weapon systems ready to fire. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge and activated the ship's communication system. His voice carried throughout the Liberty, reaching every member of his 400-person crew. This is the captain speaking. In 15 minutes, we will engage the Zephyrian fleet. You all know why we're here. 3 months ago, they destroyed the colonies at Altair without warning. Men, women, and children were killed simply because they existed in space the Zephyrians wanted to claim. He paused, letting his words sink in. Throughout the ship, crew members stopped what they were doing to listen. Today, we deliver Earth's response to that attack. We are one ship against 300. The odds are not in our favor. But remember this. We carry with us the hopes and dreams of every human being who refuses to live in fear. We fight not just for ourselves, but for the future of our species. Morrison closed the communication channel and returned to his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment, even though none of them had expected it to come so soon. "Captain," Carl said, "we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. Put it on screen." The main display shimmered and then showed the bridge of an alien warship. Admiral Crixvell appeared on the screen, his reptilian features twisted into what might have been confusion or amusement. "Human vessel. This is Admiral Crixvell of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. You are ordered to surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded." Morrison stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. "Admiral, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Liberty. We decline your offer." Crixvell's yellow eyes widened slightly. "Captain Morrison, you are outnumbered 300 to 1. Surrender now and your crew will be treated according to the laws of war." "The laws of war?" Morrison's voice carried a hard edge that made his crew look up from their stations. "Tell me, Admiral, what laws of war applied when you destroyed the Altarian colonies? What laws protected the children who were killed in their schools? What laws saved the families who were sleeping in their homes when your ships opened fire?" The alien admiral shifted uncomfortably. "Those people were in territory claimed by the Zephyrian Empire. They should have evacuated when ordered." "They were never ordered to evacuate, Admiral. Your ships appeared and began firing immediately. There were no warnings, no demands for surrender, no chance to negotiate." Morrison's voice grew colder with each word. "But don't worry. We won't make the same mistake." Crixvell leaned forward in his command chair. "What do you mean by that, human?" Morrison smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. "You're about to find out. Liberty out." The transmission ended, leaving the Zephyrian admiral staring at a blank screen. "Lisa, execute attack pattern Delta," Morrison ordered. "Attack pattern Delta? Captain, are you certain?" "Execute the order." Lisa's hands flew over the controls. The Liberty suddenly accelerated to maximum speed, diving directly toward the center of the Zephyrian formation. On the alien ships, alarms began to sound as sensors detected the human vessel's aggressive approach. Admiral Crixvell recovered from his surprise quickly. "All ships prepare to engage the human vessel. Use standard capture protocols. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed." 50 Zephyrian warships moved to intercept the Liberty. They formed a wall of metal and weapons between the human ship and the main fleet. Energy weapons powered up, ready to disable the smaller vessel's engines and weapons. The Zephyrians expected the humans to slow down, to try to maneuver around the intercepting ships, or to attempt some desperate evasive action. They did not expect what actually happened. The Liberty accelerated even faster. "Ben, give me everything the engines have," Morrison ordered. "Captain, if I push them any harder, we risk a containment breach." "Do it anyway." The ship shuddered as the engines pushed beyond their safety limits. The Liberty shot toward the Zephyrian intercept line like a missile aimed at the heart of their formation. "Amy, target their command sections. Full power." Amy Johnson's fingers moved across her control panel with practiced precision. Targeting computers locked on. "All weapons ready. Lisa, take us right through the middle of them." "Through them, Captain?" "Not around them. Through them. Show these aliens what humans do when we're angry." The Liberty smashed into the Zephyrian formation at full speed. But instead of trying to fight 50 ships at once, Morrison had chosen a different strategy. His ship focused all its firepower on a single point in the enemy line, punching through like a bullet through paper. The Zephyrians had expected a traditional space battle, with ships maneuvering at safe distances and trading careful shots. They were not prepared for a human captain who flew his ship like a guided missile, accepting damage in order to inflict maximum destruction on his enemies. The Liberty's weapons fired continuously as it carved a path through the alien formation. Amy Johnson targeted not just weapons and engines, but life support systems, command decks, and crew quarters. The humans fought not to disable enemy ships, but to destroy them completely. Direct hit on enemy vessel number 7. Amy reported. Life support systems failing. No survivors detected. Enemy vessel number 12 is breaking apart, Carl added. Hull breach in 3 sections. The ship is finished. Admiral Crixvell watched in horror as the single human ship tore through his carefully arranged intercept line. In less than 10 minutes, the Liberty had destroyed 12 ships and badly damaged 15 others. The remaining vessels fell back, their commanders shocked by the ferocity of the human attack. Admiral, Commander Zeth-9 said, his voice shaking slightly, the human ship is continuing toward our main formation. Crixvell stared at the tactical display. The Liberty was damaged but still functional. Smoke trailed from several hull breaches and one of its weapons arrays had been destroyed, but the ship kept coming. Its engines running at dangerous levels, its remaining weapons charged and ready. How is this possible? Crixvell whispered. One ship cannot defeat 50 of our vessels. But the evidence was right there on his screen. The humans had done exactly that. Admiral Crixvell stood in his private chambers aboard the Void Render, staring at the battle report spread across his desk. The numbers did not make sense. One human ship had destroyed 12 of his vessels and damaged 15 others. His best captains, warriors who had conquered entire star systems, had been outfought by a single enemy crew. A soft chime announced someone at his door. Enter, Crixvell called. Commander Zeth-9 stepped inside carrying another datapad. His scaled face showed the strain of the last few hours. Admiral, we have received a transmission from Earth. Crixvell looked up from the reports. What do they want? To gloat about their small victory? No, Admiral. They are responding to your question. What question? Zeth-9 activated the datapad and read from the screen. During your communication with Captain Morrison, you asked why they sent only one ship. Earth Command has sent a reply. The Admiral's yellow eyes narrowed. Show me. The datapad projected a holographic image of a human woman in military uniform. She appeared to be in her 50s with gray hair and stern features. Her uniform bore the insignia of high rank. Admiral Crixvell, the woman began. This is Admiral Susan Harper of Earth Command. You asked why we sent only one ship against your fleet. The answer is simple. One ship is all we need to deliver our message. The hologram paused and the human admiral's eyes seemed to look directly at Crixvell. We know who you are. We know what you have done to other species across the galaxy. We know that you believe superior numbers guarantee victory. Today you will learn that you are wrong. The message ended, leaving Crixvell staring at empty air. Admiral, Zeth-9 said carefully, there is more. Our intelligence division has been analyzing human military history. The results are disturbing. Crixvell turned his attention to his second in command. Explain. Zeth-9 activated another section of his datapad. Humans have been fighting wars for their entire recorded history, Admiral. But they do not fight the way other species fight. They do not fight for territory or resources or honor. They fight for survival. The commander brought up a series of images and data files. In their recent history, humans have fought 2 planetary wars that killed over 100 million of their own people. They developed weapons capable of destroying entire cities in single explosions. They used these weapons against each other. Crixvell studied the images of human cities reduced to ash and rubble. They used such weapons against their own species? Yes, Admiral. And that was just the beginning. They developed thousands of different ways to kill efficiently. They created gas weapons that could kill entire armies. They built machines that could fire hundreds of projectiles per minute. They even fought battles under the oceans of their world. The Admiral walked to the window of his chambers and looked out at the stars. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered anything like what Zeth-9 was describing. There is more, Admiral. Humans have a military concept they call total war. It means that everything and everyone in their society becomes part of the war effort. Civilians, factories, farms, schools, everything becomes a target if it helps the enemy. Crixvell felt a chill run down his spine. The Zephyrians were warriors, but they followed rules of combat that had evolved over thousands of years. Certain targets were forbidden. Certain actions were considered dishonorable. But the humans seemed to have no such limitations. Show me more, he ordered. Zeth-9 pulled up another file. This is information about human submarine warfare, Admiral. They built ships that could travel underwater and sink enemy vessels without warning. They used these submarines to attack supply ships, passenger vessels, and military targets without distinction. The images showed human submarines rising from the depths of their oceans like sea monsters, striking without warning and disappearing back into the darkness. They also developed what they call strategic bombing, Admiral. This involves using aircraft to attack enemy cities, factories, and civilian populations. The goal is not just to win battles, but to break the enemy's will to fight by making the cost of war too high to bear. Crixvell turned back to his desk and activated his own communication system. "Get me Captain Morrison." Within minutes, the human captain appeared on the screen. The Liberty's bridge showed signs of battle damage, but Morrison himself appeared calm and composed. "Admiral Crixvell, are you ready to discuss surrender terms?" The Zephyrian admiral's mandibles clicked in surprise. "Surrender terms? You are one ship against 300. You should be discussing your own surrender." Morrison smiled coldly. "Admiral, have you been studying our history?" "Some of it, yes." "Then you should know that humans have never been very good at surrendering. We prefer to make our enemies regret starting a fight in the first place." Before Crixvell could respond, Morrison continued. "Let me tell you something about human warfare, Admiral. Every war we have ever fought has been an existential conflict. When we fight with the knowledge that defeat means the complete destruction of everything we care about." The human captain leaned forward in his chair. "Your species conquers through overwhelming force and intimidation. You show up with superior numbers and expect your enemies to surrender, rather than face certain death. That strategy works well against species that value survival above all else." "And humans do not value survival?" Crixvell asked. "We value freedom more than survival, Admiral, and we have learned that sometimes the only way to remain free is to make our enemies afraid of what we might do if they push us too far." Morrison gestured to someone off-screen, and new data began transmitting to the Zephyrian fleet. "I am sending you complete records of human military history. Study them carefully. Pay particular attention to our concepts of mutually assured destruction, scorched earth tactics, and guerrilla warfare." Crixvell's communications officer began receiving the data stream. Within moments, thousands of files were downloading to their systems. Battle reports, weapon specifications, tactical manuals, and historical analyses filled their computers. "You see, Admiral, every human conflict has prepared us for this moment. We have spent our entire existence learning how to fight against impossible odds. We have developed weapons, strategies, and a mindset that assumes every war is a war for survival." Carl Davis appeared on screen beside Morrison. "Admiral, we are transmitting technical specifications for every weapon system humans have ever developed. You will find detailed information about nuclear weapons, biological warfare, chemical agents, and kinetic bombardment systems." The science officer's voice was calm and professional, as if he were discussing the weather. "You will also find complete tactical manuals for asymmetric warfare, including instructions for building improvised explosives, conducting sabotage operations, and organizing resistance movements." Crixvell felt his confidence beginning to crumble. The sheer volume of information was overwhelming, but more disturbing was the casual way these humans discussed weapons of mass destruction. "Why are you showing us this?" he asked. Morrison's expression grew serious. "Because we want you to understand what you are really facing, Admiral. You thought you were attacking a young species with limited military experience. Instead, you have provoked a race that has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war." Amy Johnson appeared on screen. "Admiral, our weapon systems are designed based on 40,000 years of continuous warfare. Every battle we have ever fought has taught us something new about killing our enemies efficiently." Ben Rodriguez joined the group. "Our engineering systems are built to function under combat conditions that would destroy most alien technology. We design our ships to keep fighting even when they are falling apart around us." Lisa Chen was the last to appear. "Our pilots are trained to use any object as a weapon, Admiral. Asteroids, space debris, even our own ships if necessary. We do not fight to win territory. We fight to eliminate threats permanently." Morrison stood up from his command chair. "So let me ask you a question, Admiral. Knowing what you now know about humans, do you still want to continue this fight?" Crixvell stared at the screen, surrounded by 5 humans who looked back at him with calm, patient expressions. They showed no fear, no desperation, no doubt about their ability to make good on their threats. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Crixvell began to wonder if he had made a terrible mistake. "We will consider your information," he said finally. "Take your time, Admiral. But remember this, we are not here to conquer you. We are here to make sure you understand the consequences of attacking humanity. The choice of what happens next is entirely yours. The transmission ended, leaving Crixvell alone with his thoughts and a growing certainty that he was facing something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty, watching the massive Zephyrian fleet on his tactical display. The alien ships had pulled back after their first encounter, forming a defensive wall around the third planet. But Morrison was not interested in attacking the fleet directly. He had something much more terrifying to show Admiral Crixvell. "Carl, have you located the target?" Morrison asked his science officer. Carl Davis looked up from his instruments, his face pale but determined. "Yes, Captain. Asteroid designation KB7739. It's approximately 2 kilometers in diameter, composed mainly of iron and nickel. Perfect for our demonstration. Ben, is the gravity manipulator ready?" Chief Engineer Ben Rodriguez checked his systems one final time. "Ready, Captain. But I have to remind you that this is still experimental technology. We've only tested it 3 times and never at this power level." Morrison nodded. "Understood. Amy, prepare to record everything. I want the Zephyrians to see exactly what we're capable of." Amy Johnson activated the ship's recording systems. "All sensors recording, Captain. High-resolution imagery and full-spectrum analysis." The Liberty changed course, moving away from the main Zephyrian fleet toward the asteroid belt that surrounded the system's outer planets. Admiral Crixvell watched from his flagship, confused by the human ship's strange behavior. "What are they doing?" Crixvell asked Commander Zeth 9. "Unknown, Admiral. They appear to be heading toward the asteroid field. Perhaps they plan to hide among the rocks, but the Liberty did not try to hide. Instead, it approached one of the larger asteroids and came to a complete stop, several thousand kilometers away." On the Zephyrian ships, sensor operators watched in puzzlement as the human vessel extended what appeared to be a new type of weapon array. Morrison opened a communication channel to the entire Zephyrian fleet. "Admiral Crixvell, this is Captain Morrison. We are about to demonstrate why Earth sent only one ship to deliver our message. Please observe carefully." The weapon array on the Liberty began to glow with a strange blue light. The device was unlike anything in the Zephyrian database. It did not look like an energy weapon or a missile launcher. Instead, it resembled some kind of scientific instrument. "Amy, activate the gravity manipulator. Target asteroid KB7739. Amy's hands moved across her control panel. "Gravity field established, Captain. Beginning manipulation sequence." On the Zephyrian ship's sensor alarms began to sound. The massive asteroid, which had been drifting peacefully through space for millions of years, suddenly began to move. But it was not moving in any natural way. The 2-kilometer rock started to accelerate, slowly at first, then faster and faster. "Impossible," whispered Zeth 9, staring at his displays. "They are moving an entire asteroid." Admiral Crixvell leaned forward in his command chair. "How are they doing this?" "Unknown, Admiral. Our sensors detect no tractor beams, no physical contact, no conventional propulsion. The asteroid is simply accelerating." The Liberty continued to focus its gravity manipulator on the asteroid. The massive rock picked up speed, moving faster than any natural object should be able to travel. Within minutes, it was traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. "Target acquired," Amy reported. "Asteroid is now traveling at 12% of light speed and still accelerating." Morrison smiled grimly. "Change course. Target the small moon in orbit around the 4th planet." "Captain," Carl said nervously, "that will create an explosion visible from several star systems." "That's the point. Amy, redirect the asteroid." The gravity manipulator adjusted its field and the massive asteroid changed course like a guided missile. It streaked across the solar system, leaving a trail of superheated particles in its wake. The Zephyrian fleet watched in growing horror as they realized what was about to happen. The asteroid struck the small moon with the force of 1,000 nuclear weapons. The impact created a flash of light so bright that it temporarily overloaded the sensors on every ship in the system. When the light faded, the moon was gone. In its place was an expanding cloud of debris and radiation. Complete silence filled the communication channels. On every Zephyrian ship, crews stared at their displays in shock. They had just witnessed a single human vessel destroy an entire celestial body. Morrison opened the communication channel again. "Admiral Crixvell, that was a demonstration of one of our weapons. We call it a kinetic bombardment system. The asteroid we just used was relatively small, We have identified much larger objects throughout your territory. Ben Rodriguez appeared on the transmission. Admiral, I am transmitting the technical specifications for our gravity manipulator to your fleet. You will see that this device can accelerate any object to near light speed and direct it with perfect accuracy across interstellar distances. The technical data began flooding into Zephyrian computer systems. Their scientists and engineers studied the information with growing alarm. The weapon was elegant in its simplicity and devastating in its potential. The beauty of this system, Ben continued, is that it turns anything into a weapon. Asteroids, comets, space debris, even small moons. With enough preparation time, we could accelerate your own planets into each other. Carl Davis joined the transmission. Admiral, our deep space probes have been mapping your territory for the past 6 months. We have identified over 3,000 suitable objects that could be weaponized using this technology. A new star map appeared on Zephyrian screens, showing the locations of asteroids, comets, and other debris throughout their empire. Each object was marked with targeting data and impact calculations. Each of these objects, Carl explained, has been equipped with small guidance systems launched by our unmanned probes. They are currently dormant, but they can be activated remotely from any human ship. Lisa Chen appeared on screen. Admiral, I am plotting a course that will demonstrate the scope of our preparation. Please observe. The Liberty began moving through the system, visiting different asteroid belts and comet clusters. At each location, they activated beacon signals that revealed hidden human devices. Dozens of objects throughout the system began transmitting identification codes. As you can see, Lisa said, we have been busy. These weapons have been in place for months, waiting for our activation signal. Similar systems have been deployed throughout Zephyrian space. Admiral Crixvell found his voice at last. How many? He asked quietly. Morrison appeared on screen again. How many what, Admiral? How many weapons? How many targets? How many of your worlds are currently at risk? The human captain paused, letting the questions sink in. The answer to all of those questions is the same. All of them. A new tactical display appeared showing the entire Zephyrian Empire. Hundreds of star systems were marked with weapon symbols. Every major world, every military base, every population center was targeted. You see, Admiral, humans do not just fight battles. We prepare for wars that might last centuries. While you were assembling your fleet to attack our colonies, we were preparing to end your civilization if you forced us to do so. Amy Johnson reappeared on screen. Admiral, the weapons currently aimed at your territory represent only a small fraction of our total capability. We have been preparing for this confrontation since we first learned of your existence. Morrison stood up from his command chair. Let me be very clear about our situation, Admiral. The Liberty is not an attack ship. We are a messenger. The real attack has already been prepared and deployed. We are here to give you one chance to choose a different path. Ben Rodriguez checked his instruments. Admiral, every weapon in your territory is connected to a single control system. If this ship is destroyed, if our mission fails, if we do not return to Earth within a specified time frame, all weapons will activate automatically. The choice is yours, Morrison continued. You can continue this fight and watch your entire civilization disappear in a series of kinetic bombardments that will turn your worlds into cosmic debris. Or you can choose to withdraw from human space and seek a peaceful resolution to this conflict. Carl Davis added the final piece of information. Admiral, the weapons we have shown you today are not our most advanced systems. They are simply the ones we were willing to demonstrate. We have others that we prefer to keep secret. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Crixvell staring at a star map that showed his entire empire under threat. Every world he had conquered, every military base he commanded, every population center under Zephyrian control was marked for destruction. Commander Zeth 9 approached his admiral's chair. What are your orders, sir? Crixvell continued staring at the display. In his long military career, he had never faced an enemy like this. The humans had not just prepared for battle, they had prepared for total war. They had spent months positioning weapons throughout Zephyrian space, turning the Empire's own territory into a trap. Sir? Zeth 9 asked again. Crixvell finally looked up from the display. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be completely outmaneuvered by an enemy. The humans had won this war before it had even begun. The question now was whether he was wise enough to recognize his defeat and act accordingly. Admiral Krixvel stood alone in his command chamber, staring at the tactical display that showed his empire under threat. Red warning symbols marked every major world, every military installation, every population center that the humans could destroy with their hidden weapons. The display had been glowing for 3 hours now, and he had not moved from his position. A soft chime announced Commander Zeth 9 at his door. "Admiral, the fleet commanders are requesting orders." Krixvel did not turn around. "What would you do, old friend?" Zeth 9 approached carefully. In all his years serving under Krixvel, he had never seen his commander look so defeated. "Admiral, if you were in my position, what would you do? We came here to conquer a single star system. Instead, we have discovered that our entire civilization is already under threat of complete destruction." The commander studied the display. "The humans have shown us their capability, Admiral. But perhaps they are bluffing. Perhaps they do not actually have weapons positioned throughout our territory." Krixvel finally turned to face his second-in-command. "Do you believe that?" Zeth 9 was quiet for a long moment. "No, Admiral, I do not. Everything we have learned about humans suggests they do not bluff about matters of war." 300 ships, Krixvel said quietly. "The largest fleet the Zephyrian Empire has ever assembled. And it means nothing. One human ship has made our entire military force irrelevant." A communication alert sounded throughout the ship. "Admiral," came the voice of the communications officer. "We are receiving a transmission from the human vessel. Put it through to my private chamber." Captain Morrison appeared on the screen, looking as calm and composed as ever. Behind him, the bridge of the Liberty showed signs of battle damage, but the crew continued working with quiet efficiency. "Admiral Krixvel, have you reached a decision?" Krixvel moved closer to the screen. "Captain Morrison, I must ask you a question. If our positions were reversed, if Zephyrian ships threatened Earth, what would you do?" Morrison considered the question carefully. "I would do whatever was necessary to protect my people, Admiral, even if it meant the destruction of both our civilizations." "You would sacrifice your own species to defeat an enemy?" "If that was the only way to ensure they could never threaten us again, yes. But that is not the situation we face today. Today you have a choice." Krixvel walked to his window and looked out at his fleet. "You have positioned weapons throughout our territory. You could destroy our civilization without risking a single human life. Why offer us a choice at all?" Morrison's expression softened slightly. "Because we are not monsters, Admiral. We do not want to commit genocide. We want to ensure that our people can live in peace without fear of attack. And if we withdraw from this system, if we agree never to attack human territory again, what guarantee do we have that you will not use your weapons against us anyway?" "You have my word as a human officer," Morrison replied. "If you withdraw your fleet and agree to peaceful coexistence, we will deactivate our weapons. We will not attack Zephyrian territory or interfere with your internal affairs." Zeth 9 stepped forward. "How can we trust the word of someone who has just threatened our entire civilization?" Morrison turned his attention to the commander. "Because we gain nothing from your destruction. We are not conquerors. We do not want your territory or your resources. We simply want to be left alone to develop our civilization in peace." Carl Davis appeared on screen beside Morrison. "Admiral, we have been monitoring your communications. We know that other species in this region are watching to see how this conflict resolves. If you choose to continue fighting, they will see what happens to civilizations that attack humanity." Amy Johnson joined the transmission. "If you choose peace, they will see that humans can be reasonable partners when approached with respect rather than violence." Admiral Krixvel understood the implications. The Zephyrian Empire controlled dozens of star systems, but they were surrounded by hundreds of other civilizations. If word spread that humans had the ability to destroy entire empires with hidden weapons, it would change the balance of power in the galaxy. "You are offering us a way to save face," Krixvel realized. Morrison nodded. "We are offering you a way to survive with your dignity intact. You can tell your government that you encountered a species with superior technology and chose to avoid a costly war. No one needs to know that we could have destroyed your entire civilization." Ben Rodriguez appeared on screen. "Admiral, we can even provide you with some of our defensive technology as a gesture of good faith. Nothing that could threaten us, but systems that might help protect your worlds from other enemies." Lisa Chen was the last to join the group. "The choice is yours, Admiral. War or peace, destruction or cooperation, we have shown you what war with humanity would cost. Now we are showing you what peace might offer. Crixvel looked at the 5 humans on his screen. Each of them had played a role in demonstrating the devastating capability of their species. But now they were offering him a path that did not end in the destruction of everything he had sworn to protect. If I agree to your terms, what exactly are you proposing? Morrison stood up from his command chair. Immediate withdrawal of all Zephyrian forces from this system and from human space. A formal treaty establishing peaceful relations between our species. Cultural and technological exchanges that benefit both civilizations. And your hidden weapons will be deactivated and removed once the treaty is signed and both sides have demonstrated good faith. Crixvel turned to Zeth 9. What do you think, Commander? I think we have no choice, Admiral. We cannot fight an enemy that has already won. The Admiral activated his fleet communication system. All vessels, this is Admiral Crixvel. Prepare for immediate departure from this system. Set course for Zephyrian space, maximum speed. Throughout the fleet, captains and crew members received the order with a mixture of relief and confusion. They had expected a glorious battle, not a strategic withdrawal. Captain Morrison, Crixvel said, we accept your terms. The Zephyrian fleet will withdraw from this system immediately. Morrison smiled, and for the first time there was genuine warmth in the expression. Thank you, Admiral. You have made a wise choice. But I want you to understand something, Captain. This is not surrender. This is recognition of a new reality. Your species has changed the rules of warfare in this galaxy. How so? For thousands of years, civilizations have fought for territory, resources, and dominance. Victory went to whoever had the largest fleet, or the most powerful weapons. But you have shown us something different. Crixvel paused, choosing his words carefully. You have shown us that the most dangerous enemy is not the one with the most ships, but the one willing to think further ahead than anyone else. You prepared for this war before we even knew it had begun. Morrison nodded slowly. War is not about who has the bigger gun, Admiral. It is about who is willing to do whatever is necessary to protect what they love. And that is why other species will fear humanity. Crixvel said. Not because of your weapons, but because of your willingness to use them. The transmission ended and Admiral Crixvel began issuing orders for the fleet's withdrawal. Within hours, 300 Zephyrian warships were leaving the Kepler system, their crews still struggling to understand what had just happened. On the Liberty, Captain Morrison watched the alien fleet depart. His ship had suffered damage in the battle, and several crew members had been injured, but they had accomplished their mission without firing a shot in the final engagement. Captain, Carl said, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Put it through. Admiral Susan Harper appeared on screen, her stern features showing approval. Well done, Captain. You have avoided a war that could have cost millions of lives. Thank you, Admiral. But I have to ask, were we really prepared to follow through on our threats? Harper's expression grew serious. Captain, the weapons you demonstrated today are real. The threat you made was genuine. If the Zephyrians had chosen to continue fighting, we would have activated every system we deployed in their territory. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. All of them? All of them. Humanity learned long ago that the only way to prevent total war is to be prepared for total war. Today, that lesson may have saved both our species. Jake Morrison's final log entry was brief. Mission accomplished. The Zephyrian Empire has withdrawn from human space and agreed to peaceful relations. No shots were fired in the final engagement. Sometimes the most effective weapon is not the one you use, but the one your enemy knows you are willing to use. Throughout the galaxy, word of the encounter spread quickly. Other civilizations learned that humans possessed weapons capable of destroying entire empires, and the willingness to use them if threatened. But they also learned that humans preferred peace when it could be achieved with honor. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted. No longer could aggressive species assume that superior numbers guaranteed victory. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, humanity watched and waited, ready to respond to any threat with weapons that could end civilizations. The question was no longer why humans sent only one ship. The question was what else they were capable of that no one had seen yet.